We are live in the room podcast with Lars, Borssen, and Travis Lizotte, full contact writer. Boys, I'm not going to fill the airwaves with my voice right now. I want to welcome you aboard. Say hello to the fans all over New England tuning in to listen about the rankings we released.
What's going on, New England? Welcome to have you.
What's going on, guys? Glad to be creating a lot of buzz, and we'd like to do so more so with this show tonight. Let's make some matchups. Let's get some fights going.
Excellent. As we know, Cage Titans had a big show last night. Their second show back after basically 3 months off with the coronavirus going on. They highlighted the New England MMA rankings that we put out on Sunday night, fellas. Mike was contacting us on Messenger. Lars, you got him a bunch of stuff. Let's talk about, the ranking itself and what you feel about the release and how well it went.
Yeah, I mean, it's, a lot of work went into these. We've been working on this for, the site we've been working on for months, but the rankings themselves we've been working on for probably a month. And, we were excited. This is kind of, when you look at the traffic on the page, people want to see the rankings. That seems to be what people go to the most. So when we released them, we were pretty excited. But after seeing the views and kind of what Cage Titans did last night, we couldn't be happier. I'm super pumped, man.
Cage Titans always been good to me as far as media. Travis himself, Lars, you've scored a lot of their events over 10 years worth. They did a big favor for us, and it wasn't only because they were doing us a favor. It's rankings that they admitted they're going to definitely use, and that's going to be part of their matchmaking, which that was the point of making these rankings based just on New England, not only to focus the website, to really highlight the talent we have and get some maybe matchmaking going on in here. And a lot of that went on Cage Titans. Now, a lot of their fighters were picked in the rankings. Their fighters are number one in the rankings, some up and down. But there's other promotions out there that are in this too with number one fighters and young up-and-coming talent here. So this puts a whole nother buzz around New England now that fighters that some other fighters didn't even know about, but we highlighted here because they should get the recognition. Now other fighters are seeing these talent and they want to fight each other. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, I mean
I can speak on that a little bit, unless Lars wants to.
Travis.
No, I think it's pretty cool that I honestly feel like because we've been to so many events and see all these different events that promotions and other fighters know each other a little bit more than you would think they do, and to be able to see guys like Kerry Kennison gain some recognition on the Cage Titans site last night, that was pretty cool. But we know what everyone on the list is capable of doing. We ranked 180 fighters, which is a huge accomplishment. But I think the real cool thing is a lot of these New England guys are starting to call each other out. And we're so used to seeing these New England guys fighting guys from out of town. And maybe we can stir up a little bit of adversity in between a couple of our very own so we can get some of those fights to make the cage.
Lars, your opinion on what's going on and what you're seeing. You're very excited. We got our group chat going on Messenger, and last night it was hard for us to get some sleep because it was pretty real last night. Joe Giannetti, he's number one, big, lightweight there. The guy didn't even expect to be number one, and not only did fans have a piece of the pie, media and promotions got the vote too. So it wasn't, people were afraid going in, thinking it was going to be a popularity contest. And Joe actually talked about that. Like, he's not he talked about not being a fan favorite. So he thought he was going to be out of the rankings right away. But, it just shows that people really think the talent this kid has is number one in the area.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. So, I guess we should kind of explain how we put the rankings together. But obviously there's the fan vote on the website. And then we also reached out to the promotions in New England and, the media guys that we know who follow the sport pretty closely. So we had a really good mix of opinions of people who knew what they were talking about. And I kind of formulated everything together, a lot of Excel work. And so it was numbers based when it came down to it. But, I think it's great because you got guys talking now. Like, we've been stagnant for like 3 months with nothing going on. Or like, we want to see some fights. But even before this, when we were fighting, there wasn't like a pecking order. You couldn't go and say, hey, who should I be calling out? Who do I want to take down who supposedly is ahead of me in the rankings? So this has given some credibility and some legitimacy to kind of, the pecking order of each division. And, the buzz we're getting, we're seeing guys call some other guys out. We're seeing promoters jump into the mix on social media and trying to set up fights. It's awesome. I mean, that's exactly what we want. We want some buzz. We want some guys to kind of have some targets on their back. And hopefully this guy gets guys training hard and wanting to climb the rankings. And we'll see some awesome fights come from it.
Excellent. Now, as you was talking, Lars, I have the website that I took we're scanning through it right now, the rankings, the votes, a little bit. You're writing up great things about, the rankings itself coming out. And you've been releasing little posters of winners and talking about some of them. They're coming out great, brother. I mean, you're the guy behind the scenes. And, Travis are we're the guys that are on social media a lot and talking on feeds and stuff like that. You chime in there also, but you're the man behind the scenes. You're basically putting this all together and keeping it operational. So, congratulations on that, Lars. I mean, a lot of credit definitely goes to you, and people should know that Lars is what brought this website together. It was his creation. He brought Travis and I along because we have the knowledge and we have a voice that can help get his passion out there along with ours. So it was a great team, and we can't be any happier about what happened this weekend, like Sunday when we released them rankings. And Lars, talk about the feedback and what the interest, because the website blew up and people are still going back and forth. The website looks beautiful. The website itself is a work of art. Now we got the rankings in there, more content and going there. But talk about the feedback and what you've been getting from people on as far as the website and the rankings themselves.
Nothing but positive right now. I think initially when we reached out to promoters and kind of other people, I think some were kind of like, all right, let's see what these guys are doing. And nobody really wanted to jump in the water too early. And then I think once they saw what we were doing, people are buying into it. And we need participation from, the promotions and the fans to make this happen. I've been involved in this sport in the region for 10 years, and I have a passion for it, and I love seeing these guys kind of get to the next level. I love seeing the promotions do well. We don't make any money doing this. This is all voluntary. So it's just a passion we have. We enjoy it, and we hope the fans like it, and the promotions like it, and the fighters like it. And we're trying to elevate the sport in the region and get these guys to notice. And based on the feedback we saw the past few days, I think we're getting that. I think the blog post with all the rankings has over 1,200 views right now. So we're stoked. It's fun. We like doing this type of stuff, so we're having a blast.
Excellent. Well, I have a bunch of stuff. I mean, we can't go over everything in here. I got to say, Cage Titans went over pretty much, the very important parts of the puzzle here. I mean, they're all important, but they went through everything here. We don't have that much time. We really want to discuss a few weight classes. I mean, I'm flashing all things here. Everyone can see exactly what's going on. If you haven't seen, go to the website. We really want you to go there, join, look around, give us your opinion on, what you see, what you think we should add. If there's fighters that, you think should have been somewhere else, hey, get on, vote next time. As far as that, before we get into some matchups and talk, When is the next vote? When is that going to happen? I know we have no action, so what are you thinking, Lars?
We were thinking about doing this monthly. I think that may be a little overzealous. So once we get back to kind of normal structure of fights happening every month, couple of months or whatnot, I'm thinking maybe every 2 months. Initially, I was thinking maybe go by the season, summer, winter, fall, but that's a 3-month time span. I don't know if I can wait that long. So maybe every month or two. We're still kind of working that out, but for now, I think we probably won't see another rankings until we start getting some live fights. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, why should guys be moving around the rankings if nothing's happened? So most likely we probably won't see another set of rankings. If fights happen in August, we're probably looking at September. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Excellent. Well, they're going to be, if fights are happening then, they're going to be using these rankings to get these matchups going. It was a lot of chatter. Let's start. I'm going through the men's division. We're going to start with the flyweight division, and we're going to move up a few weight classes, and then we'll talk about, maybe a couple of girls, the women coming up, and that maybe they're pound for pound because the women need some highlight here. We could talk a little bit about them. So first, let's go to the men's pro flyweight here, which you put out a write-up on them on the flyweight division today, Lars. That was spectacular. Beautiful work by you. It has a lot of chatter going on. We shared it. You shared it on Instagram, shared it all over, New England MMA, all over our personal pages. Let's talk a little bit about this. I mean, we have some killers on this. Let me blow up the picture. Lars, Travis and Lars, I know you definitely know this by heart, but so I'm going to put it up here. So we have Blaine Shutt, who is the champ, who defeated Johnny Lopez for that open title. And then you had Richie that was supposed to fight Shutt. That fight got canceled because of the COVID-19. So let's talk about them three right now because, in the mix over there is Tateki, but he's coming off a loss, so he's not really in that threesome right there. I mean, Johnny's lost a fight, so let's talk about, this whole 1 through 10 slot, but start with the first one, Blaine there. What do you think about him at 1?
I think he's the number one. I think CES flyweight champion has got a hold of it. He was very impressive against Johnny. Johnny's known for his grappling, his submission techniques, and Blaine was just top heavy in that fight. Held him down for the better part of all 5 rounds. It was a frustrating one for Johnny. But, I mean, you got to give it to Blaine. He came out here kind of an unknown, but we figured we had to rank him because he holds the crown in New England right now. Johnny is the reality flyweight champion still, so he deserves to be up there next to the top. And Richie has impressed us every time out. I mean, you can't say with exception for his loss to Miles Johns, because we learned a lot more about Richie in that fight than we have at any of the regional promotions. So Richie belongs right up near the top there. And there is, you can question beyond that, but I don't think there's any question that these three guys are top flyweights.
CES has got a lock on those top 3 guys, so they can kind of mix and match and, put on some cool fights there. I think one thing in the flyweights that's kind of interesting is Donnie Ballou kind of came onto the scene at Premier FC, grabbed their 125 belt. We were all there to watch that. He took it to number 7, Josh Ritchie, within the first minute or two, I think. Knocked him down with I think, a right cross and choked him, made him submit. So, Donnie Ballou, I know he's got some fans on there. I think he's watching right now, too. And somebody was calling out shit for Ballou. But, man, I think the top 1 through 3, Tateki's going to be a tough fight for anybody. And then, keep an eye on Ballou. He's actually based out of Ohio, I believe. But I think he's probably going to be fighting more in New England moving forward.
Most definitely. After that win at Premier and taking care of Josh Rickey pretty quickly there, where Josh is a grinder and he doesn't get finished. You know what I mean? And he went in there, finished him real quick. And, we do know that fan base helps to get, fighters, fans in the stand. And when you're performing like that, he also has two titles. That was his second title he captured. So he's got a big fan base. The kid's putting in work. And I did also read his only loss, he did avenge that loss. So the kid has, the kid's there. You know what I mean? If he's in the mix, it depends. I mean, Richie had that fight with Shutt. We don't know what's going to go on there. 125 is a tough cut for Richie. And Richie basically told me when he was on the podcast, he really isn't going to fight at 125 unless it's for a title or it's, on the contender or something like that. He doesn't want to kill himself unless it's a really, really high stakes fight. And in that fight, he was actually headlining the CES card. So he's not going to expect anything less than having an opportunity like that. I don't think Johnny Lopez being number 2 is going to affect him fighting Shutt down the line when the fights get going.
For sure. Yeah, I think Santiago Shutt is going to be the next way to go for CES as far as that goes. That was the perfect fight when it came out, and I was so stoked that was going to be, probably headlining that card for CES, and I think it was well worthy of a headliner, and I think it was 2 of the top flyweights, maybe Northeast,
Excellent, man. Good stuff. Okay, let's hit the bantamweights because this is a very hot topic right here. As we know, Johnny Cupcake. See, I don't have a great poster. Lars, you're going to be sending them out and doing your write-ups or whatever as we go, but I just photoshopped and cropped these. So they're not as pretty as the flyweights, but Lars will take care of that on social media down the line. But so here we go. All right, let me get my ugly mug out of there and blow this up. You guys are beautiful, by the way. All right, let me get my mug out of there. All right, so here we go. Jay Perrin. He is the Cage Titans champion, defending champion. He is he's number 1. We got Johnny Campbell on a 4-fight winning streak, taking out all the young talent and basically butchering everyone in there. He's number 2. You got Dennis Piver, number 3, and Mitch Raposo, the young stud there, 5-0. Rich Raposo, I think all his fights, 5 fights were in 2019, all his pro fights, and he is number 4. Let's talk about Rico DeShulo. Let's talk about these 4 because Rico's been out of the picture a while. Let's talk about these 4 here. Jay Perrin, Johnny Cupcakes, Dennis Piver, and Mitch Raposo. Go. Lars, you first.
Yeah, I think these, when you look at these weight classes, I think you look at 135, 145, and 155. Those are some goddamn deep divisions in New England. And bantamweight may be the deepest. Perrin, Campbell, they squared off probably a little over a year ago. Actually judged that fight, and that was razor-thin fight. I think the tough thing with Perrin is he's kind of on the brink of making it to the next level, and he's got to be careful with the next fight or 2 that he takes. He needs guys with good records that he can beat, and he can beat pretty much anybody. But like a Mitch Raposo is not a great matchup for him because Mitch has got a ton of potential. He's 4-0, and Jay's looking to kind of put a notch on his belt with a guy with a little more wins that can get him noticed. But Raposo coming in at 4 didn't necessarily surprise me. He's only had 4 fights in pro, but he's got a ton of potential. I think people kind of see that, and that's kind of how they voted. And obviously Piva and Campbell mixed in there. Those 2 are killers as well. And I know they've been chatting a little bit on social media about possibly hooking up for something, whether it's under CES or whatnot. But that'd be a cool fight. One kind of fight that I had marked down here was I'd like to see Duma and Perrin. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, there was maybe some chatter about that in the back room, that fight may be happening, but it didn't come out. It was talked about. It didn't happen. I'm sure it can be talked about again, Lars, since it was talked about again. But Perrin, I don't know, Doom is coming off a loss, so that's a tough fight for Perrin. I mean, Perrin, he's looking to. I mean, Doom is a big name in New England, but is that going to get Perrin to the next level if he takes out Doomer? I don't know. Does he need a bigger name? Does he need an outside name? Does he need a Johnny Campbell name on a 4-fight winning streak? Who's number 2? As far as Mitch Raposo, Mitch is going to 125. He's certain he's going 125. He's even saying something on Instagram today, commenting back at Madafi. I don't remember his name. He was supposed to fight Mitch. He backed out because he's saying Mitch is not a true flyweight. But if Mitch can make the weight, he is a flyweight. But he has to make the weight to be in that class and be a factor there. But I see Mitch's next fight at flyweight. So we got 3 guys here. We got Perrin, we got Campbell, and we got Piver. I see Campbell and Piver going at it. I see Perrin out of state unless someone, who's there that can call him out. Janelle Lugo, who's only got, 2 or 3 fights. He beat Doomer at Bellator, but he's not that fight that's going to get him there, and he's 10. Who else is there? Chris Motino, 3-fight losing streak, lost to Johnny Campbell. So that's kind of going backwards. Not that wouldn't be a great fucking fight, but it's not going to put him where he is. So my opinion is Jay's going to fight either Johnny Campbell or someone out of state, and hopefully that'll get him to the next level. Which last words from both of you about these 3 gentlemen.
Yeah, I think Perrin, you're probably right. He's probably going to take somebody from out of the region. It only makes sense. A lot of these guys at the top got to kind of think that way. So I think Perrin would probably – his last fight, I think the guy was from Florida. I can't remember his name who he fought and beat at Cage Titans. But makes sense for Perrin to fight somebody who's got a solid record and some good wins from out of state or out of the region. What do you think, Travis?
Yeah, I definitely don't think there's anyone here besides Johnny Campbell that makes furthers his resume, really. And I mean, granted, anyone would further his resume, maybe Dennis Paiva, but I've heard a lot about Paiva being at 45.
Yeah.
I mean, Rico would be a fight, but they both trained at City Otong, so I don't think that fight's happening. I just think, the way for Perrin to get noticed by, well, not that he hasn't been noticed by the UFC, is to do something, somebody out of the region, somebody that he can make a name for himself, and pick out another regional champion or something like that, and make a name for yourself across the country and say, hey, I beat another regional champion here. It's time to go.
Excellent. And you can't forget Richard Santiago. Just like I said, he's not going to take a huge fight, a huge flyweight fight, unless it's for a title or it's something bigger than CES. So he's still in the mix at 135. He's coming off a win, coming back from the Contender Series where he had that broken jaw. He came back. He finished Georgie. I don't remember his last name, but I think it was a second-round finish. Yeah, and thank you, Travis. So, all right, so good chatter there. There's a lot of talk going on there. Jay Perrin, he's been off Facebook a little while. He's been on Instagram. He did put a post about him thanking for being number 1. He's very proud of it, which he should be. He earned that spot, and I'm glad he's getting the recognition. And I can't wait to see what happens with that weight class. So let's get to the featherweights. So let me blow that up.
I did want to bring up one thing. I think a little bit of a snub in this top 10 was Ashek Ajim, who's 3-0. He's fought for CES, and he's beat the brakes off everyone he's fought. So I think that guy is a guy to look out for, too. If we had an honorable mention, I think he would have to be in it because that guy is dangerous.
Excellent. Maybe we'll do a little a segment of honorable mention fighters that didn't make it. Like the 1-0s, but they had like great amateur records. They just don't have the experience at the pro level to put them out there. I mean, some weight classes, they're thin, so we have to go to maybe 3 wins or something like that. But them stacked weight classes, man. The fighters, it's hard to get in there. You need a bunch of wins and a lot of fights under your record. So, all right.
Yeah,
So
in New England, if you get north of 170, it's hard to put the list together. But under 170, under 55, really, our divisions are super stacked.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it wasn't easy putting this together, like as far as voting and as far as like going through this. I mean, Lars, I remember you put a post saying, get on the rankings. You should be part of this. We worked hard on this. It's only 10 minutes of your time. Let me tell you. I mean, it took me more than 10 minutes, but I had a great time. You have to think. And why wouldn't you want people to think about rankings? I mean, these are like fighters kind of their careers. Not saying that NewEnglandMMA.org is their fighter career if we rank a fighter above another, but it helps. And you want, as far as when we put the rankings out, we want the best possible correct and say it for me, Lars. Where do we want from these?
Yeah, we want accuracy and credibility.
That's the words right there.
I think we got that in this first run, honestly, because out of all the feedback we've got on social media and whatnot, it's been pretty much 99% positive. We've had one or two people like call out some stuff here or there, but that's natural and that's kind of what we want. We want people debating about this stuff. But in terms of the amount of data and opinions that went into these, there's been nothing done in New England like this before. When you have a dozen promoters and media members, submitting ballots for every single weight class, and you have over 50 fans submitting votes, and you kind of mush all that together, that gives you some pretty accurate rankings here, and I think we're proud of how they look. There's always going to be debate, but I know a lot of these guys, and I think you can make an argument for that's where they're supposed to be. Excellent.
And we wanted the debate, and we knew we were going to get. Well, I thought we were going to get a little more debate on, we should have been here or someone there. But when we saw these rankings before the fans, we were excited. We were like, we don't think you can get any better than this. I mean, there might be one in there. There might be a teeter-totter, like a fighter hasn't been as active as the other, but I mean, that's it. Everything else is pretty much spot on.
Yeah, and it's probably worth noting that we pulled out a couple guys that were in the voting. Andrei Sukhmatov and Kyle Bochniak. We had them in the voting. We had them on our ballots for the promoters, media, but we actually made the decision when we tabulated the votes to remove them from the rankings, just for the sole fact that they haven't fought on the regional scene yet. They've been cut by the UFC. So they're not fighting for a major promotion, but until they actually step in a cage in New England, we're going to leave them off the rankings just for some sort of guidelines we can use.
Excellent. And the right thing to do. I mean, they got to fight, just like our next. I mean, Tateki. Well, he's had a couple of fights since he's left. He won at CES, and then he fought at Cage Titans. But we have a gentleman that kind of is in that category, Lars. We have Matt Bessette, who was released by the UFC. I believe did he have 2 fights? He didn't get his last fight out of the, or did he have 3 fights? I think he had 2, right? One contender.
He fought Tim Dueling, and then he fought Charles Cheeks.
No. I mean, when he was in the UFC.
Oh, with the UFC, yeah.
2 fights.
How many did he have?
I think he had the contender, and then he had 2 under contract. He fought in Boston, and I think he fought one other place.
Fought Steven Peterson, and he fought Barzola.
All right, there you go. All right, so we got Matt Bessette back in the rankings because he is, again, the CES Featherweight World Champion. And he won 2 fights on the regional scene pretty impressively. So, of course, he's going to be back in the rankings. So, let's talk about these rankings because there's been some fire before these rankings even came out. Before even COVID-19 came out, there's been fire between a couple of these gentlemen right here. And their names is Matt Bessette, number 1. Bruce Boyington, number 2, the former CES Featherweight Champion who relinquished his title and went to fight for Neff. We know what happened between that kind of, but that's old news now. And then Don Shainis as number 3. Let's talk about Sean Sariano's had one fight. His fight before that last fight for CES, he won that fight, but before that, that's when he lost his the belt to Bruce. So let's talk about these 3 guys here, the top 3 right now. We have Matt Bessette, we have Bruce Boynton, and we have Don Shainis. 3 active fighters in New England. Let's talk about them, boys. You first, Lars.
Yeah, man. I love this top 3. 3 killers. Bessette and Boynton are currently going back and forth on our rankings thread from Sunday, calling each other out. I made a reply to one of them saying, let's give the fans what they want, and I tagged Jimmy Birchfield and Matt Peterson. Maybe one of them get something done. Jimmy hopped in, and they said they're going on their podcast, I think tomorrow or something together.
Oh.
To see so we'll see if that happens. But they both agreed to it. I think Boynton's throwing out, hey, you can have my purse and I'll come down to Connecticut to fight you. Bessette wants him to get a win before he goes down and fights him. So, does that happen? Would like to see it.
Can I?
I'd love to see Don Shainis fight anybody.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see him fight Bessette or Boynton.
Yeah.
Shainis is another guy who's kind of on the cusp of getting some national attention. And I think if this COVID thing didn't hit and he got in his fight in April, maybe he'd be getting a call for the Contender Series right now. But that's, Don Shainis versus anyone is an awesome fight. I could see him fighting Bessette or Boynton. But, any of those 3, you can interchange them. Great matchups.
So, I was going to make a quote by Matt Bessette, but he's got a ton of them against Bruce Boynton. So we'll just leave that at that. Just keep watching the feeds, because as soon as we release, when you make this write-up, Lars, it's going to blow up. Like when you get this poster out and you talk about the fights and shit like that, it's going to blow up.
I'm going to stoke the fire. I'm going to stoke the fire a little bit. See where we get going.
So awesome. So, Matt Bessette, featherweight champion back there. I mean, what was he? How many fights? How many times did he defend that title? I mean, it had to be about, 7 or so? Like, it was up there. How many times? Do we know that? Anyone got...
I think he's fought for the title 6 or 7 times. Twice reclamation projects, I believe. But, yeah. He's fought for the title. I mean, I've been watching Bessette for the longest time. I remember his fights back in Bellator and stuff like that. Man, Bessette's my dude, and I'm happy he's back on top. Not gonna lie to you.
Oh yeah. I mean, I knew when he was coming back to the regional level and fighting for CES. I mean, that he was gunning back for his title. There was chatter back then. He wanted Bruce. There was something going on with that, and then Bruce got left the title and got away. And then, it'd be a fun fight, but like you said, Matt wants Bruce to get another win over a quality opponent, because in Matt's eyes, his last loss was embarrassing, which he lost to Manny Bermudez as 100, what was Manny, 159 pounds, 158 pounds. Bruce, come on. Bruce is,
yeah.
Is Bruce a true featherweight or a true lightweight? Where would you put him, Travis?
I'd say he's a true lightweight.
A true lightweight. All right.
I mean, Bruce is but he's so physically conditioned, and he has great control of his body, maybe better than anyone in the region. So he can make the featherweight, but he's been fighting for lightweight titles at NEF for years, and I think he's naturally a lightweight.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Let's stick.
Yeah, I think I'll just say one thing. I think Bessette's saying, "Hey, Bruce, you got to get a quality win before we can do this." And to Bruce's defense, Manny did come in heavy to that fight. So can you really mark that down as a true crappy loss? You got to kind of put an asterisk there. So Matt probably should give him a little more credit for that. And the former CES lightweight, lightweight champ, right? He's a lightweight, or is he
No,
featherweight champ?
featherweight.
Featherweight.
His former featherweight champ at CES against the current. I mean, it all makes sense. But they got to find a way to get it done.
In my eyes, it's only going to get done for CES. Matt is not going to go fight for Neff. He's never going to fight for Neff. He is the CES champion. He made his name, Bellator and having them great fights at Mohegan. Yeah, gave him his fan base and everything, but CES launched him into the UFC, and that's where he got the big eyes on him. So that's his company. I mean, he's gonna retire with them, and he wants to retire with that belt. So Bruce is gonna have to come back to CES, and we would love to see that fight. I would also like to see Don Shanis be able to get a shot at that belt. Also, he was supposed to fight for the Cage Titans belt, as we all know. That didn't happen, and now he's, I talk to Don, back and forth on Messenger all the time. We are good friends, Don and I. We've known each other a little while now, as far as off the fight scene. He's expected to get a contender shot. He doesn't think he thinks when they come calling, he's gonna be one of the guys calling. If not, he says everyone on this list can get it. That means he'll fight Matt Bessette, wherever Matt Bessette wants to fight. Don will fight for CES. He's talked to them in the past, negotiated with them when he was fighting for Bellator and stuff. I mean, Mike Polvier he's no stingy guy. If fighters are going to get eyes and get better opportunities, he lets them go fight somewhere else. I mean, that's a true promotion right there. You want your fighters to grow. Don is, I would love to see Don and Bessette. If Don doesn't get a contender shot, I would love to see Don versus Boynton at Cage Titans, or Don versus Matt Bessette at CES. But I think Matt Bessette might want someone with more than 10 fights, and someone who's been around more than the New England level. You know what I mean? As far as a bigger name and somebody that's gonna, I don't know. What do you think, Lars?
Yeah, one thing that kind of catches my ear is, I'd love to see, tell me what you think about this matchup. I'd love to see Don Shanis, Voko Clay. Those two guys are aggressive, in-your-face fighters, and they would put on a hell of a fight. I'm not sure what's going on with Voko. He hasn't fought in a little while. He's rattled off 6 wins in a row, but he hasn't been active. I'm not sure if it's injuries or what's going on, but he's a guy who's also uber talented, who could easily, I wouldn't say easily, but it could beat anybody on this list. And I'd love to see Shanis Voko go at it.
That'd be a great fight. As we know, Vodka is a great grappler. Digs deep. I've seen him in a couple of fights, a little trouble, and he's dug deep, and he'll submit you. He'll outlast you. He'll outwork you in a fight. That's for sure. Don, the same way. That kid is work. We talked about him. His forward pressure, his scrambling ability, just be on, crazy in the scramble. I mean, fighters can get clipped there with that crazy scramble, but Don's strong, fast, and he's just crafty when he's in that scrambles. That's a great fight for Matt Bessette. Matt is incredible on the ground. He's the older guy. He's the CES champion. Don's that young gun, man. I would love to see this fight. This fight would I mean, I don't know what Matt has to gain out of the fight other than, keeping the title and being the best in New England still, and taking out a young gun, spoiling the party for Don. But Don beating Bessette would be huge for his career. So, I mean, there's a lot of work here. There's a lot of options here, and plus you said there's a bunch of other fighters there. Brendan Marat, a bunch of them other younger fighters in there that you got Dylan Lockhart that was on a tear. He's was the Combat Zone lightweight champion, correct? I do believe.
NEF lightweight champion.
Oh, the NEF. I'm sorry. And then he went to the Contender Series, but he lost in there. But he's still a dangerous, great fighter in New England.
I'd like to chime in here. I think that the fights to make would obviously be, if we were to keep it all in New England, it would be Bessette Boyington. And then for the next shot, I think it would be, in my opinion, if you lined it up, it would be Sheamus, Marat, or Lockard, 2 of the 3 of those for the next shot at the title. If you were just to stack it up as the featherweight division as a whole. I think that's where, I mean, Vovka, we don't know what's going on with him. Paiva is, he's always in the running. That would be cool to see him if it was a CES title, but I don't see him and Bessette really going at it. And then you have Soriano's already had his shot at the title and lost it. So I feel like you take 2 of the 3 of Sheamus, Lockard, and Marat, and you let them face the winner of Boyington and Bessette.
There you go.
And I think another interesting thing on the featherweights here is, Conor Matthews sneaking in at number 10 with only a 2-0 record. I think that shows you a little bit of his potential. I've seen him fight a few times. The kid's got the build, and he's definitely got the talent. So for him to sneak in the top 10 with only 2 fights, I think that's pretty impressive. Exactly.
Absolutely.
And coming out of Lausanne's great camp, they're going to keep conditioning him to the biggest stages. So that kid's sky's the limit for him. Very, very happy. Another kid that was probably not thinking he was going to be in the rankings. I mean, 2-0. That's a stacked division. You know what I mean? So great honor for Conor. I mean, he deserves it. 2-0. He's a huge prospect. He's a Mitch Raposo, only in the featherweight division. All right, so let's move to our men's lightweight division, where a bunch of chatter was on there. There was on Cage Titans, Joe was talking about a couple of matchups or a couple of fighters down in the maybe 7 through 10 list that should have been switched around, but that's opinions. And as we know, fans and fighters don't know all the fighters. Like they're actually not these rankings are helping other fighters learn who other fighters are, because Joe last night and I think even Johnny Cupcakes didn't know who Cameron Loshinov was. Cameron's he's got 6 wins in Bellator. He's like on an 8-fight winning streak. He fights out of Team Link in Ludlow. He's Pat Casey's training partner, a bunch of killers there. And I think he came in number 3 on the welterweight rank. He's also the NEF welterweight champion, and he's the reality welterweight champion. Now that's what's funny about it is you don't know that he's in New England, and some fighters never heard of him, which is nuts, which makes me feel.
I think it's hilarious too, because JoJo's fought as a welterweight before, and he hasn't even heard of him.
Good stuff. I mean, and that's why I love the rankings, because people are finding out about these fighters that are really getting recognition now. Cameron, I don't even think was on the Tapology rankings. I don't remember. You know what I mean? So I don't know. So I'm very proud and very happy that these fighters are, getting the recognition and getting where they, 95% in New England's eyes should be in these rankings. So
another thing I'll point out, I thought was kind of interesting. We had Ali Zebian.
Yes.
In both the featherweight and lightweight. He finished 11th in the rankings in both featherweight and lightweight. So he's another guy who's on a roll that probably should, you got an argument to put him in both those divisions in terms of the rankings, but he just missed out. So he's a guy who should get some credit as well. He's been on a tear.
Well, let me.
Fleming's in there, so he should be in there.
Well, yeah, exactly. That was my next point there, Travis. That Ali beat Brendan Fleming. Not the last. Was it the last card or the card before for Cage Titans?
Wow.
And Brendan Fleming is number 7, and they've both been. I don't know. I think kind of a winning streak before, last fight. I think Ali might even be Premier's champion. Isn't he their one of their featherweight champion? Or their Or lightweight champ? What is he?
Lightweight champion, I think.
Lightweight, one of their champions, their pro champions. And he didn't even make this list. And that's where it comes into, which is interesting because you can't blame the popularity or because that had just a fraction of the votes or the final tally here. So let's talk a little bit about that more. Like, what do you think? Do you think media didn't know Ali as much as Fleming, or do you think they relied on Fleming's past record and what he did before he came back on the scene?
And I think when you look at how the numbers came back, Ali finished like 10th in fan voting, 9th in fan voting, and 11th in the media and promotions vote. It's interesting because Ali's fought for a bunch of different promotions. He's always a tough fight for anybody. Some of his fights aren't incredibly exciting, but he seems to be getting more exciting. I've seen some of his fights where it's, kind of using his wrestling, not a ton of striking on the ground. But over the past few fights, I've seen him kind of evolve more, and his striking is definitely becoming a bigger factor. He's got a chin. He obviously has solid wrestling. If I were to rank him myself, I probably would have, Zeb being in the top 10 in both those divisions. But why did Fleming kind of get there and Ali didn't? Let me look to see how Fleming turned out from the fan voting. Fleming was 5th in fan voting. Fourth, and then 6th in the media and promotion. So obviously people think high Fleming, and he's a stud as well.
Yeah.
I think Ali probably didn't get the recognition that he deserves.
Excellent. Well, that's why we get fights, and that's why we get we get everyone involved. I mean, it is what it is. And Travis, when we were like discussing this online with other people that were asking things, your line was the people have spoken, which is right. I mean, of course, people are going to argue because their fight is not there or where they think it's going to be, but this wasn't one-sided. Like, the fans didn't all vote, and we went by that. We didn't just go by media. We didn't just go by promotions. It was all put together. And, the fans and the people have spoken, Travis.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely some things that people don't like when somebody who has beaten somebody shows up ahead of them on the rankings. But there's a situation right here where this happened. Jesse Erickson beat Josh Harvey by armbar in his last fight, and that's what we're getting a little bit of feedback on here. But here's the thing. When I put this list together, I don't think of Jesse as excuse me, hold on. I don't think that Jesse will take this as a slight to him. Jesse knew that that Josh is a tough opponent. Jesse knew that Josh sat atop the division in New England, and that's why Jesse went at him the way he did. He knew he had to finish him early, knew he had to get him out of there because Josh took JoJo into deep water a little bit there. The longer you last with Josh Harvey, the longer you try to wrestle him and stuff like that, it's a tough out. But I can see people not wanting Josh above Jesse. But Jesse's made his mark in New England. He's won an NEF title, and he's a tough out for anyone. But it just goes to show how high everyone is in their stock of Josh Harvey. Josh has shown it against a number of opponents. He's a game opponent. He's one of the best featherweight lightweights in the division in New England for sure.
Yeah, and Jesse isn't, in my opinion, Jesse isn't in the top 10 if he doesn't beat Josh Harvey. So I think that win right there got him some recognition and got him in the top 10. Harvey being ranked ahead of Erickson, even though he just lost to him. I think these rankings are about, if these two guys fought right now, who do you think would win? Or you're like, Lars, they just fought and Harvey lost. So I'm like, all right, what if they fought 10 times? Who would win the majority of them? in my opinion, if they fought 10 times, Josh Harvey probably wins 6 to 8 of those. Therefore, I think he should be ranked higher. Granted, you can't call it a fluke. Jesse implemented game plan and won. But from what I've seen over the course of 10 years, and their careers probably ranged 6 to 8 years, something like that. But I've seen them both fight quite a bit. I would put Harvey above Erickson, even though he just lost to him.
Excellent. All right, well, let's talk about potential matchups here. JoJo said anyone can get it last night. Let me blow this up a little more so you could see that. All right, so Manny Bermudez, of course, is not going to fight Joe Giannetti, and we don't see Manny hitting the cage until, at least a card or so away from when we get going again. So we got Bruce Boyington in there again, but he's got high hopes of getting against Matt Bessette. So we got Josh Harvey back in there. We got Jacob Bond, who just beat Dan Dubuque, which he wasn't even mentioned, but that's a hard sell. He's coming off 3 losses in a row, I think, in like two or three different weight classes. So that was a hard sell. But we got Jacob Bond, who won the reality fighting lightweight title against him. Then we got Zach. We got Brendan Fleming. We got Conor Berry. We got Jesse Erickson. We got Darius Estelle, who was supposed to fight Don Shana. So we're not going to talk about Darius because I think he's going to stay in the featherweight and try to, maybe get that fight back with Don, or, he's number 10. So let's talk about 1 through 7. Maybe, let's throw Conor in there because Conor did.
You got to throw Conor in there.
Yeah,
Conor's too low on this.
Yeah. Conor did make a comment that he thinks, looking at the rankings, he should fight Zach now. So let's talk a little bit about that. So Joe will fight anyone except Manny Bermudez. I think, I could be wrong, but Joe might have been, or Bruce might have been offered Joe at a Cage Titans fight at some point. I might have heard a birdie talk about that. If it didn't, that is chatter that's going to happen. You got Josh Harvey, who tied a draw against Joe Giannetti, who, I don't know. What are you thinking, guys? As far as I like the Conor Berry and the Zach, just because he called him out in comments, thinking that's the fight to make there. So, guys, your take on that?
Yeah, I think first off, I think we got to recognize that there are 4 South Shore sport fighting guys ranked in the top 10 in lightweight. You got number 1, number 2, and number 6 and 7. So they got some killers down there on the South Shore. So obviously those guys would never fight each other. I think Conor versus Zach or Brandon are both great matchups. I also wouldn't mind seeing Josh Harvey, Zach DiSabatino either. That'd be kind of a cool matchup. Zach's probably not going to leave the Cage Titans world, and I'm not sure if Harvey would come back down to the Cage Titans world, so I don't know if that would be able to get made. But I think Conor Berry's probably ranked a little bit too low. And Jacob Bond's coming off a big win, but can he show us some consistency with those big wins? Maybe he's ranked a little too high.
All right, so where was I here? What about, Josh is coming off, no, he isn't. Josh is coming off a loss. I was going to say, if Josh came off that win, that could be talks for a Giannetti rematch there with Harvey, but Harvey coming off a loss, that does no good for Joe.
I'd like to see Conor Berry against Josh Harvey.
That's a good fight.
Conor Berry's got some submission skills off of his back. He is similar in size to JoJo, and I think the one thing that Harvey had tough time with JoJo is his size, his lanky legs. He had tough breaking through his guard and stuff like that. So I think that Conor Berry against Josh Harvey's a good fight. Both of them have fought for NEF before, so that it wouldn't be a 2 out of the realm of possibility there. But yeah, I mean, I think there are some fights to make with these local guys in this division for sure.
Excellent. Last words before we move on to the women, and just give a little shout outs to a couple other divisions. We don't have time to go through the amateurs and all that. Maybe we can do that next week, guys. Maybe next because we're gonna be putting posters out for the next week. So how about next Tuesday we do we cover the amateurs?
Absolutely.
All right. So all right, so let's get to the women. So let's start with the pro women right now. We had, as we know, there's not enough women fighters in New England to make divisions and make, we would have, there would be one welterweight champion or, not welterweight, I'm sorry, apologize. Featherweight, bantamweight, what's that, flyweight, and what's the other one? Strawweight, 115. We don't have atom weight, but All right, so let's talk about the women right now. So we have let me find them right here. Women's pro pound for pound. All right, so let me blow that up and we'll talk a little bit about that. All right, guys, like I was saying, we don't have enough women to make it, so we had to make it pound for pound. And as you know, there's not even enough. It was hard to find 10 women to put on the pro pound for pound. You know what I mean? We had to go. Maria Rivera hasn't fought in 18 months, but we couldn't put a winless fighter on there as far as pound for pound. And Maria is a killer, and she is undefeated 2-0. She just hasn't fought in a while. So let's talk about it, guys. We have Jessie Mealy. We have Hillary Rose, Marissa Messier, Kerry Kennison, Maria Rivera, who we were just talking about, Kylie O'Hearn, Sarah Click, Danielle Heinle, Sarah Payne, and Lisa Blaine. Go, Travis. Let's talk a little bit about these. Let's talk about the first four. Jessie Mealy, Hillary Rose, Marissa Messier, and Kerry Kennison.
Yeah, so I think this is the same top four I had, just in a little bit different order. I think I had Marissa ahead of Hillary on this one. Marissa is an absolute beast. They call her the spider monkey for a reason, because she is all over you. I love her style. One thing I think that slipped a little bit here is Danielle Heinle at 8. I think she could have been up in the 5 or 6 range in that area. And then the part that kills me is I think Kylie O'Hearn is one of the most talented females in New England, but because of her record, her couple tough losses, it puts her a little bit lower than I think she could be. But I love Kerry Kennison. Kerry Kennison is a baller. She goes into Invicta and goes toe-to-toe with some of the toughest women in the world. Invicta not really being a local promotion, but she definitely has carried the women from New England as far as that promotion goes. Jessie Mealy, there's no question. She's fighting at the biggest stage in Bellator, fighting some of the biggest names. She belongs right there at the top. There's no question about that. Other than that, it's really tough. I think that we know that Gloria Watson is making her pro debut in her next fight. So she could be one of those girls that pops into the top, 6 or 8 with a nice pro debut. She ended up winning female pound for pound for amateur. We almost ranked her as a pro, but we think she would have got some votes, but she's not pro yet. She hasn't signed that pro card yet. So I like where this is. Maria Rivera, if she is fighting and active, she belongs in the top 5 because she's been had some big wins on the CES stage. So I think if she were to come back, she'd be in the top 5. I mean, it's pretty good for what we have to work with. I'm sure there's some girls out there that are dying to get on this list. All it's going to take in New England is 1 or 2 big wins, and you'll launch yourself up this ladder pretty quick.
All right, I'm going to mention one name, and like we were talking about, it's hard to put it's hard to put fighters up on a list when they only have one win. But there's a fighter here that a real killer in New England, a real woman killer, Alexandra Ballou, fights out of Ascension, fights out of I forget the grappling school. I'm so sorry if I forgot. But she fights out of Underdog. She cross trains all over there. I think she's actually from New York, but right on the line of New York and Connecticut. So she cross trains with them. She's 1-0. She's going to win over Lisa Blaine. I do believe her pro debut at Bellator, she beat Lisa Blaine. She's 1-0. She was supposed to fight Sarah Payan at Bellator again, but she blew out her ACL before that fight happened. So she's been recouping her knee, and I think she has fought within the 18 months, but it's been like 12 months she's recouping the knee. She looks like she's about 85%. I mean, the coronavirus might have held her back a little bit from getting that very important reps in there, but I think when we're ready to go again and get fights ready, Alexandra Ballou from Underdog and Ascension, Matt Bessette and Jeff Haddad's gym, that girl's definitely somebody definitely to watch out for, and I'm excited to see her hit the scene again in these women rankings.
There's another tough one here too. Lindsay Van Zant isn't on this list. She's fought for Bellator her whole career, pretty much, I believe. So that would be a tough one, whether or not she's a regional fighter, considering she's fought most of her career for Bellator. But that's another one that could be in consideration as well.
Yeah, and I think when I looked over all the rankings, the one that stuck out to me the most that said, all right, this fighter's ranked too low is probably Danielle Heinle. She's at 8. I think she's 4-1. I think part of her issue is her quality of opponents in terms of wins is not that great. Her only losses to the only fighter that had a winning record she's fought. But in terms of talent and what she can do on the mat, she could easily be in the top 4 in the next year and a half with a couple big wins. But she's dangerous. So I think she's ranked a little too low. But hopefully we'll see her back in action soon.
One thing, like, you know how I'm an internet troll, and of course I'm gonna watch the comments on these rankings and stuff like that. Hindley is at what weight? Is she a lightweight? Not a lightweight, a flyweight, or is she a strawweight? Or is she even heavier?
I believe I think she's fought at flyweight or bantamweight.
All right, so Hillary.
She's a tall, lanky girl.
Yeah, definitely. Hillary is a strawweight, right? 115, or does she fight at flyweight also?
Hillary's a strawweight.
Well, there was a comment I think from one of Hillary's coaches on our post there, Lars. We go look back at it, but one of her coaches said that they might have been exaggerating a little bit. They reached out. Hillary reached out. Their side reached out to fight Hindley a few times and never heard back. I know Sarah Click called her out online, not because she doesn't like her. She just thought it would be a fun fight. So let's talk about some. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to know their weight classes because there's not many women enough for weight classes. So, but I know Hillary's in her own weight class and she's the best there. I mean, but wait a minute, Marissa Belanger is also a strawweight. I do believe a 115 pounder. She can actually. I think Marissa can go to atomweight.
She could go to atomweight.
Yeah. And she's also a Golden Gloves boxer. Also, I think a Brazilian black belt under Andrew. Under who?
Artarelli.
Yeah, but also out of a huge Brazilian black belt out of New York. Also, I can't think of his name, and I'll probably get killed for it. But yeah, she goes. She cross trains there too, and I think that's actually where she got her belt. And we know Hillary is a beast on the ground. I think but also Marissa is signed with Invicta now. But I think Invicta allows them to fight because Invicta was going to allow Kerry to fight for CES if there was a matchup in the making while she was waiting for an opportunity with Invicta. So do you think that? What do you think about that matchup? Maybe Hillary and Spider Monkey.
Man, if they can both get to the same weight, that'd be a hell of a matchup. Marissa is, like I said before, like go all over you. And Hillary's found herself in some bad spots before and just grinds out wins. So I mean, it would be one of those things to see if Marissa's too much for Hillary, or Hillary's just the grinder that she showed she is before.
Excellent. I'm sorry, Lars. Anything from you as far as not only them but other women on here?
Yeah, I mean, I know Hillary is looking to kind of get to that next level. What's her record? She 4-1.
4-1.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. I know when the UFC was coming to town in October, she was lobbying for a fight there. You know, the thing is with women, you only need 4, 5, 6 bouts under your belt to possibly get a call from the UFC or Bellator. Whereas the guys, you need a few more fights under your belt before you get that call. So I'd love to see 2 and 3 go at it if they can make it work. Jessie Meal, I think, is kind of in a league of her own right now. She just, kind of made a statement in her last fight at Bellator, beating a former title contender. So, sky's the limit for her. Kerry Kennison, I think she's uber talented. She's got to get a win, though. I think she's lost like 3 in a row. Granted, her last one technically was an exhibition bout.
One round. One round, yeah.
And she had a battle in Invicta the fight before that. An absolute war.
Yeah. Round war.
Fight of the night. Actually, fight of the night. She was awarded for that.
Yeah. So she's an awesome fighter to watch, but at this point in her career, she needs to be very strategic about who her next opponent is because she needs a W.
Absolutely, yeah. It's tough because she's fought some talented girls, and she's hung with each and every one of them, and just shows up behind on the scorecard. It's tough because she could easily be 5-1. I mean, if she was fighting regionally, she could be 5-1, 6-0.
Yeah, definitely.
Super talented.
Definitely. And she's coming off, she did break her hand in that fight of the night, and her last fight coming back was that 1-round exhibition. So it's not a true meter of where she is right now. So it's interesting, with all the time off with, the quarantine and everything. So she'll be 100% when she comes back. When I talked to her before that exhibition, when she was getting ready for it, her hand wasn't 100%. So I'm sure that was in the back of her mind a little bit as she was maybe fighting or getting ready for it. So she might have not have used her hands enough in that fight and had to change her game plan. So I'm interested to see what Kerry's going to bring to the table once we start getting going.
Absolutely.
Also, there's rumors that Hillary is on the cusp of making that contender shot too. Like I said, they're looking for new women. We don't know what's going on with the contender, but knowing that the UFC is moving forward with fights, the Apex is open. They got fights going on. We know the contender is going to happen. We just haven't really, Fighter Island is the thing. Maybe we'll have the contender series on Fighter Island. You don't know what's going to go on. July is is what they're saying. July, I think 15th is the fight, the first. So, boys, the floodgates are starting to open. Dana's getting it done. Even though I haven't been a fan of everything he's been doing in the past, he's getting it done. I got to give him credit. And the contender series could be a big thing for a lot of our New England fighters here.
Shouldn't we be finding out about contender lineups here pretty soon? I mean, I think usually they'd be out by now in terms of their episodes and who's going to be fighting where. So hopefully we get some news in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, there's one gentleman, I'd like to give him a shout out, Nolan King, who used to be regional here for, wrote here for Sure Dog, maybe Cage Side Press, something like that, a bunch of shit. Now he's working for, who's he working with? MMA Junkie. He covers a lot of the regional because that's what he covered before. So he gives a lot of love to the regional. So he handles a lot of that, a lot of the contender write-ups and stuff like that. So because he knows a lot of the regional fighters. So I think he's the guy to watch, Nolan King. He'll be coming out with some probably some beans if you want to know. So follow him on Instagram, on Twitter. He's big on Twitter. All them media guys are big on Twitter, which maybe I should get on there and cause some shit, but I got too much going on.
Keep in mind, there may be some local fighters who already got that Contender Series call.
Yeah.
That just can't say anything.
Yeah.
And I bet you there's a few out there. So, maybe we can work our magic and get some beans.
Awesome. Kerry Kennison is watching. Don Shanis is watching. So their ears were ringing, which is great. So let's move to the amateur women because we'll cover them and we'll give some shout-outs about maybe a couple other divisions in the amateurs like welterweight. But like I said, next Tuesday we're going to cover the amateurs just as extensively as we did as the pros tonight. So we'll give them love next Tuesday night. So let's get to the women's amateurs pound for pound here. Let me blow that up here. All right, of course, Glory Watson, who we'll talk about because she was scheduled to make her pro debut. Megan Rosado, one of my favorite female fighters, amateur fighters in New England. Taylor Thompson, who I do believe might have retired, might have going to take a lot of time off. I don't know. Chelsea Tucker on a tear. Adina Boudre, who we know is a really good MMA fighter, also fights Muay Thai, but I don't know how busy she's going to stay, but she is in the rankings, and she does produce. I was going to say, I thought she might have fought Marissa Blanchard as the amateur, but I don't think so. Katie Denning, who's a killer herself, but has taken time off. She became a police officer, I do believe. Ariana Cruz out of Underdog, I do believe, or Ascension over there, cross trains with Matt Bessette. I've seen her kill people at Reality. I don't know Erin Johnson. She sounds familiar. You guys can...
I think the was on.
Oh, that's right. She had her first fight at Combat Zone. I watched that fight, actually. She had a finish in that fight, right?
I think she's only like 18 as well.
Yes. She
just turned 18 like a month earlier and made her debut, and she was impressive.
Yeah, I think
coming out of camp, she's one to watch. She looks super innocent, but she got in there and she showed some pretty impressive technique for her debut. And when you got Joe Lozon in your corner and training with those killers every day, sky's the limit. So keep an eye on Erin Johnson.
Excellent. I don't know Chelsea Fallon. Do you know anything about her?
I think she's a Vermont girl. I don't know much about.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to be learning more about Vermont fighters because there was quite a few, I think, on the heavyweight. There's a lot of heavyweights out of Vermont, which we need heavyweights. We know that.
Those flops in their mud truck.
Guys are eating moose in fucking Vermont. Fucking guys are like 300 fucking pound heavyweights over there. All right. So, and then number 10 is Elisa Marini, who is coming off a loss to Chelsea Tucker, and she came in like real heavy too. So, hats off to Chelsea Tucker for winning that fight against a heavier opponent. And Elisa's no slouch either. She fought Glory Watson, I do believe, at Ammo. So let's talk, fellas. Glory Watson is making her pro debut. So, let's talk about her first because she does need some credit. She is number one, and if she wasn't making her pro debut, she well deserves that number one spot because she's been, I think she's definitely fought. She fought Rosado and had a good fight with Rosado. But talk about Glory Watson and what she's done in her amateur career. Travis?
Yeah, Glory Watson's another one of those girls, and I think it says something about the girls in this area that's just in your face. Glory Watson will just it likes to man or woman handle whoever she fights. There's never a dull moment in her fights. I need one of those hats, Don Shanis, by the way. I think you mentioned that last time.
Too.
Yeah. So Glory Watson, yes, she's going to make her pro debut. I think she's going to have some great success in the pro ranks. I don't know. She's probably the star out of this whole thing when it comes to up and comers. But I'm a big fan of Chelsea Tucker too. Chelsea Tucker 3 wins in a row. She started off her career super slow, but she has showed that she's a better fighter each time out. And she's going to probably climb up to those ranks. And I don't think she's far from turning pro either. Chelsea's definitely one of my favorite fighters in New England. She works her ass off, and she deserves every bit of recognition she gets after climbing out of the hole she started out with. Training with John Rayo at First Class. She's got a good team behind her, and she's got a good head on her shoulders. She's trained super hard. I've seen her cross-training all across the state of Maine in quarantine and stuff like that. I saw her up at Dragonfire MMA when I went up to talk with Chris and Roz Hilton up there. She looks crisp. She looks ready to go, and she works harder than just about any other amateur woman I've seen.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure what Maine is breeding some tough women here. 5 of the top 6 are Maine fighters, Maine-based fighters, and obviously Gloria Watson kind of separated herself from the pack here. Her only loss is to Kara Greenwell, which I was a judge for that fight. It was a super close fight, but Glory showed me something in that fight, that she can take a punch. It was a stand-up battle. She got hit. She got clipped a few times and stood in the pocket and traded. So that was a great learning experience for her. Megan Rosado's been on a tear and hasn't said no to a fight. Chelsea Tucker. She, when I first saw her fight, she seemed a little timid. And in terms of most improved, by far the most improved from her first fight to her 6th fight now. I think she's 3-3 now. And, she's improved immensely. And what I've seen her in the last few fights is she's got that killer instinct. She's got that look in her eye that she wants to go in there and hurt somebody, not just like, all right, I hope I don't get hurt. No, she's going to look to hurt you now. And she was pissed off when Alyssa Marini missed weight. And you could tell in that fight, she just kind of had a different look at her, and she went out and performed. So Chelsea Tucker's one to watch. And then I had mentioned Erin Johnson before. She's kind of like that rookie that I've got circled to keep my eye on.
Definitely. I swallowed a pumpkin seed a little wrong, fellas, so so I'm either going to throw up or cough through the rest of this podcast right now because I ran out of beer. So so all right, so there you have it. I mean, Rosado, she's my favorite. I mean, as far as amateurs, Chelsea I love too, but Rosado, as far as her weight class, she is a bantamweight killer. She's a mom. She's a wife. I think she just passed. She's going to be a prison guard. I do believe she just passed all the tests, so she just got that opportunity in Maine. Another Maine fighter. She's a killer. This girl trains all the time. Is always trying to get better. She's very humble. She's very, very excited about where she is. She got into fighting because to training just to lose weight from being a mom, and then she became number 2 pound for pound amateur fighter. Number 1 because as we know, Glory's going to pro. So next rankings, if there's a fight or not, well, there's going to have to be a fight for next rankings. Meg's going to be there again, number 1, and I would imagine one more fight under her, one more good opportunity to have a great amateur fight. She's going to be turning pro in a fight or two. And as far as
I think that her and Chelsea are making they're pushing through the amateur ranks, and they're going to become pros soon. They've I mean, some amateur girls have the amateur career and they call it enough. I think these 2 girls set them aside where they are going to make good pros one day. They take this seriously now. They treat it professionally, and I think that's going to be in their near future.
Awesome.
We were talking about how it was tough for us to put 10 women in the pro division to vote on and to rank. We're going to see hopefully Gloria Watson, Megan Rosado, and Chelsea Tucker make the leap in the next year and a half. You throw those three in the mix in the pro ranks, and you got some interesting rankings to look forward to.
Here's another thing about Chelsea. I think Chelsea is she's been fighting heavier girls her whole career. I do believe Chelsea fought Glory, which Glory was fighting heavier girls through her whole amateur career, and now she's a strawweight. I think her last 2 fights were strawweight.
Yep.
Same thing with Chelsea. Chelsea was fighting all heavier girls, and I think that's where her 3 fights losses came from. But she's getting that experience and getting that feel of the heavier woman, which I think makes her a better lighter fighter, which makes her do what she's doing now at a smaller a lesser division. And it doesn't.
Yeah. She's a flyweight and she's super strong.
And it doesn't hurt that she's cross training at Lausanne's also. And I think Hillary Rose is one of her corner coaches who coaches her through her fights.
Yeah. Her and Hillary train a lot together. They're super close. They both mess around at Lausanne's on Saturdays. And yeah, if those 2 girls can kind of keep up with each other, that could be something great for the future of the women's division in New England.
Excellent, guys. Well, last thing I'm going to throw up here, guys, is the #1 pros in New England. We didn't get to hit all the weight classes, but we're just going to give a shout out to all the #1s. Maybe you guys can talk about, bring us home with maybe the heavyweight, light heavyweight, and middleweight, and where you see, let's not talk in depth. Let's just give them a shout out. Maybe the top 3s in them division.
Yeah, we can't overlook the welterweight division because that's a pretty deep division in New England as well. Maybe we can touch upon that next week or whatnot. But when you got Vinicius De Jesus, John Manley, Cameron Lochnow, Jesse Kozakowski, and John Gotti III in the top 5. Those are 4 guys that we might see on the big stage in the next year and a half to 2 years. So welterweight is, I think, an underrated division here in New England when you look at it. And then you got Pat Casey.
I also think number 6
on there as well. I mean, that could be the deepest division in New England.
Now, you just mentioned Pat.
Look at number 6, Jeremiah Wells.
Yeah, I skipped him.
Jeremiah Wells fought. I mean, holy crap! Yeah, that one deserves some discussion.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Wells is the former CES welterweight champ who beat who'd he beat? John? Did he beat John Manley for that, or did he? Who'd he beat for that?
He beat. What's the guy's name? It wasn't Christopher Curtis. It was.
He didn't beat. He beat Gary Belletto, and then he got a title shot. Who did he get?
Start Belletto. Yeah.
And then he fought John Manley.
Yep. Beat Manley handedly.
And then, he fought in New York or Pennsylvania, or he fought the dude that fought Christopher Curtis, I think, for the title at one time at CES. Did I lose?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
his name? Yeah. Not Jason Norwood.
That might be it. I don't know. A big ball. He had a bald guy. That's all I remember.
He lost to Marco Smallman in September at CFFC.
Yeah, but that was.
Wells is one to talk about because he's 5-1 in his last 6, and his only loss is #1, Vinicius De Jesus. That was the decision loss at CES 55.
Yeah. And Jesus won that, and Jesus has actually defended the title at the last CES, I do believe. So,
I mean, that's a killer division. Like,
yeah,
you looked at it.
I think middleweight's pretty killer too. I was looking earlier today. Pat McCrowan's like 7 or 8 in the middleweight division.
Yeah,
McCrowan's a tough dude. I think there's some room for debate in that division as well.
Excellent. All right, so let's go light heavy, where we have William Knight, we have Terrence Jean-Jacques, and Fabio Charant. Big 3 in New England. We don't have to talk much more about any of that division than them three guys there. We got William Knight, who we did have some debate about him on the rankings because he does have a developmental deal with UFC. And Lars, do you know what that entails? The development deal. What I understand, I think he has to fight for Fight Pass organizations, around the region. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's been a couple promoters that we've talked to who've tried to book Knight regionally here, that they can't because in the developmental deal he's contracted to fight on UFC Fight Pass, so that excludes everybody except CES. In New England at least, so I wouldn't expect Knight to be anywhere except CES in the near future, unless he goes maybe down to New Jersey again and fights for CFFC or something.
Excellent. Travis, a little bit about Knight and we've seen him since, he made his pro debut. I think for was it CES or Premier? I mean, we've seen him fight at Premier and taking people out. I mean, we've seen a load of fights, at least 7 fights of William Cage side. We've seen him kill people. Let's talk about this dynamic individual that basically Dana White called a freak of nature, as far as just his athleticism and the muscle mass that he can move on that body.
Well, when I did my rankings, I literally listed it and I said, can this guy kick this guy's ass? And that's how I did it. And William Knight came up on top of my 205 and my heavyweight rankings. That's it. I mean, Greg Rebello was on top of my heavyweight. I consider him partially retired because he considered his last fight a retirement fight, but he said that before. But William Knight is probably the most impressive individual I've seen throughout New England MMA. Just overall power, quickness for his size. I mean, he's not a big heavyweight, but he hits with more power than the 6'4" guys. And yeah, he's a force to be reckoned with. He could be one of the best chances that we have to see the next guy in the UFC, obviously, because he's got that developmental deal. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of thought the developmental deal was a little weird initially because of how good William Knight's amateur career was. Dana White said he didn't have quite enough experience to put him right into the UFC's heavyweight division or light heavyweight division, but Will fought Yorgi as a amateur. He's been tested. He's fought anyone worthy of mention in his division. You put him in front of him, and he's hasn't shied down to anyone. He fought Kevin Haley. Kevin Haley's a veteran, knocked him out in the first round. Yeah, William Knight is one scary individual, and sky's the limit for him. He keeps his head on straight, keeps his nose to the grindstone like he has been, and that guy is going to make some moves, and he will be in the UFC one day.
Excellent. Lars, next, was Fabio second or was Jean-Jacques second?
Jean-Jacques 2, Charant 3.
All right.
Let me see how they kind of came in terms of votes.
And I know that William Knight and Jean-Jacques fought at Premier, and William Knight finished Terrence, but it was a great battle up until the end of that fight. I mean, it was great. Jean-Jacques just coming off a Premier win, a big win for him. He won he won a belt, but
Cruiserweight,
the 225 belt. Oh, he fought Raz, right?
Yeah,
Raz Hill.
Yeah.
Okay, not an easy.
Yeah, I think Terrence has all the potential in the world as well. Obviously, he's got the wrestling chops. We fought at Iowa, or he wrestled at Iowa for a year. Which if you say Iowa and wrestling, obviously you must have some talent. He strings a couple more wins together as well. He could be getting the contender call as well, contender series call. What I think he needs to work on is the striking. He's got an awesome grappling game in terms of heavy top pressure. He just doesn't do a ton with it. And we know that the UFC and those bigger promotions want to see a guy who can throw some strikes and do some damage on the feet as well and on the ground. They're not a huge fan of those takedown and positional type of fighters. So he's going to evolve a little bit more, but I think he's kind of he's reaching out and training in different places. I know he was at ATT for a little bit. I don't think he's there anymore. And then Fabio, we know his deal, losing on the Contender Series last year. But again, another guy who is young, has got a pretty good record and has mass amounts of talent. I remember watching that Contender Series fight, and a couple kicks that he threw were some of the heaviest kicks I've ever seen. And so if he strings a couple other wins together, he could be getting a call as well. So top three there in that light heavyweight is, all three of those guys could be in the show in the next 2 years.
Excellent, my man. Well, dudes, we've gone a little while here, hour and a half. I think we covered pretty much of the pro ranks, a little of the amateurs, just giving some mentions. But you guys, you want to do it next Tuesday, or you want to do it Thursday? It might be a band here, so I don't want to ruin it. It's a shame to wait a whole friggin' week to do it.
Let's do it Tuesday.
You want to do it Thursday and chance to see if the band's going to be here or not? I mean, if anything, we might have to start the podcast at 9 instead of 8:30. If that's all right. You want to do it Thursday? Thursday or Tuesday? No, what you want to do it next Tuesday? What do you want to do? The amateur.
I think next Tuesday will coincide better with how we're releasing the rankings, the top 10s of each division. Yeah. I think it'll work better if we do it next Tuesday.
Excellent. Then that's perfect then. So we're basically done with podcasting this week. We're very excited for Lars to get some more posters out there and give some more shine and blow up our website with these rankings, man. It's happening, bros. That's why we put it together. So our passion could show through, and we could give a big spotlight to our fighters here. So, Travis, I'm gonna start with you. You give your shout outs, give last words before I let you go, and then I'll hand it over to Lars to send us home.
The first thing I'm gonna say is, if you don't like our rankings, log on the goddamn website and put in your damn vote. That's the only way you're going to change them, unless you're a fighter, and then you get your ass in the cage and you make something of it. Other than that, I want to definitely throw a shout out there to the Canna Bio Group, somebody that I've been working close with, Antonio, and the people over there. I've been working close with them, with Chris Sorrow. They've showed liking in our website and a possible sponsorship coming forward. I know Lars has talked to them, and he could probably finite those details a little bit, but I want to shout out to them. And then also my barber, Mike Drummond from Roland's Old School Barbershop. I missed him last time because I got sick for my quarantine appointment, but he's my dude, and he's been with me since day one. I've shouted out to him on all my writing in the past. So Mike Drummond, you're the man, keeping this beard and this hair looking good. Thank you.
Excellent. Lars?
Yeah, just shout out to the promoters who submitted their votes, their ballot for this, and the other media guys. Thank you. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to do this. It'd just be us three jokers trying to put this together. And thank you to the fans who contributed. We want to make this, we want to bring this community together and have something we're proud of. And I think this is the first step in the right direction. I've been around, the sport here in New England for, like I said, 10 or so years. And we used to have some rankings. Shout out to Dan Bunnell, who used to do this at Mass MMA, and it gets to be a lot of work. And we haven't had this in probably 4 or 5 years. And it's generating some really awesome discussion. And it's starting to kind of give the promoters and fighters something to look at in terms of matchmaking. Hopefully the promotions will use our rankings when they're hyping fights and kind of putting things together. But yeah, just go buy a shirt if you want to support us. We're doing this for free, for the love of the game. And, these are super comfortable. Go on the website, hit us up. I appreciate everybody's input and look forward to continuing to do this.
Awesome. And remember, we do have a donate button on our website. If you just want to donate $1, $5, a quarter, whatever you can throw out there. it just helps us. I mean, we're just gonna make things better. I mean, we just keep investing, and us three right here, we have amazing passion for MMA in New England, and just putting a platform out there and being able to do something positive with our energy. And I couldn't be any more happier than to be with these two guys who are two of the most established and done some of the best things for MMA in the last like 5 to 10 years. So I'm excited, and I appreciate you two guys for sticking with me and having some faith that I wouldn't get us deleted off Facebook and any other social media platform. So so with that said, so next Tuesday we'll be back in the Room podcast with these two guys going over all the amateur rankings. Look out for our page, New England MMA, all over, everywhere, Facebook, Instagram. The tag is right under Lars right there. You see New England Mixed Martial Arts on Instagram, YouTube. See it all. We're everywhere, and we're not going anywhere because this is the tip of the iceberg, fellas. And we made movement this weekend, and I think sky's the limit now for this website. Is that who's that sneaking behind you over there, Lars? There. It's daddy time. It's time. They're saying it's time to go.
Yeah, I gotta go put to bed. So
all right, dudes. I'll let you go, guys. I'm just gonna throw out the last scene here, and I'm gonna talk to you guys offline before I let you go. So, thank you very much. Join our pages. Go on the website. Follow it, share it, and love it because we love it. With that said, we out of here.